Hello, homeschoolers. Just a quick interjection from Megan before you dive into this episode. If you're watching on video, forgive me. I have a wicked cold and I look and feel terrible. So please, I'm not my normal self. But when we recorded this episode, everything went smooth sailing. For whatever reason, when I was editing, sometimes the audio tracks overlap a little bit. And then every once in a while, there'll be a weird pause that's only like 2 seconds, but it's awkward, right? It's like 2 seconds of dead air. I don't know why. I tried troubleshooting it. It's just Amanda and I. We don't have a sound engineer and whoever else helping us. So please forgive us if you're new to the podcast. Normally, our recordings are smooth as silk. And for whatever reason, this one overlapped a little bit. I explained in the episode that I am recording from an Airbnb in Poland. If I had to guess, it might be my Wi-Fi that messed it up. So I do apologize for any hiccups in the recording where sometimes it sounds like we're talking over each other. We're not, I promise. But it might be a little bit wonky here and there. But there's great content in this episode, so please forgive us and please stick with us. And hopefully next week, smooth sailing again.
Hello and welcome to Homeschool Moms Unfiltered. I'm your host, Amanda, and my amazing co-host is...
Hello, I'm Megan.
So we are your messy, imperfect homeschool mom friends. We rock messy buns or poofy, undefined curls like mine today, and daytime PJs, which I definitely have on. I have these amazing like soft pants from Target that they had. Like, I don't know, they're awesome. I'm really happy with them. Anyway, we believe no human is illegal. Science is real. Love is love. The list goes on and on. These are just a few of the ideals that we infuse into each of our respective homeschool journeys. And definitely what you can find, or at least expect to find, we're always working, right? We're always a work in progress, but that's what our virtual community is all about. So if you're looking for that, we're here, right? If you've been struggling to find your people in the homeschool community, know that we exist. We really do exist. And there are more of us than many people assume or realize. You do belong. And we're so happy you're here with us.
We are so happy. Hooray. Our topic today is all about gift giving. So this episode will air in November originally. So the winter holidays are kind of top of mind for us right now. But truly, these suggestions are applicable to birthdays and any other celebrations throughout the year where you're seeking a meaningful gift that might tie into your homeschool journey as well. And P.S., this is a great time to take a second and share this episode with grandparents, aunts, friends who've already started asking you, like, what does Johnny want for Christmas this year? If you're overwhelmed with the thought of people filling your house with a whole bunch of stuff and you're like, where am I going to put all this stuff and all the parts and the pieces and all that? That is not what this entire episode is about. We've got some really great minimalist experience type ideas for you. So I'm pumped to jump in and see what we've got going on this week. But first, we kick off all of our episodes with a kind of a daily dose or a weekly dose of realness and kind of what's going on in our respective homeschool lives. So what's up in your world, Amanda?
You know, I feel like same old, same old. I'm tired. And, you know, like everyone's like, oh, I'm tired. I saw a meme this morning that was something like, if only I was as tired as I thought I was before I had kids, kind of, you know, like if that was actually my reality now. I have chronic fatigue syndrome. So my tired and exhausted is a little different. And then I have PIM as well, which means anytime I have something that's like mentally or physically challenging in any way, shape, or form, it makes me extra exhausted. And that's just the way that my body reacts to things. So there's been a lot of that going on. And just, you know, like the struggle is real between wanting to life, you know, like wanting to get out and do the things and go trick or treating and, you know, have these great family experiences. And should we go to the pumpkin patch and should we go to the local one that's kind of lame, but it's easy to get to? Or do we do the one that we have to drive up into the mountains for because it's only going to be a high of 50 degrees Fahrenheit in the United States, and that'll be amazing, you know, and like, but it takes so much more out of me. And, you know, just it's a constant balancing act. But, you know, it's going to slow down. I always say that every week. Next week, I think it's going to be really cool, calm and easy. So yeah.
Well, we're recording on Halloween. It's October 31st today, and I think the next 2 months are a lost cause for most people, right? We're trying to hope that things calm down, but maybe in the new year, right? Maybe there'll be a reprieve. Hopefully.
Yeah. So how about you? You're in a new location. For those who aren't watching on video, we do have video on YouTube, and you can see clips and stuff. But Meagan she's got some interesting artwork behind her. So new location. Tell us about it.
Okay, I'm scooching so people can see. So it's really cool. It's this full wall mural. So we're in an Airbnb. In our last couple of episodes, I'd been talking about us moving out of our house in Charleston and selling basically everything we own and starting our world schooling adventure. And so I'm pumped about that. We are in Gdansk, Poland, which is on the northern coast of Poland. Why Gdansk, you might ask? There's a huge Pokemon tournament here this weekend. And so my boys were like, can we go play? And of course, yes, I'll sign up for pretty much anything. So here we are, but we're just kind of taking this week as a little bit of a rest. We're not doing a ton of sightseeing or anything. I'm still trying to kind of regroup my life after our move and get caught up, and everybody's tired from the move and then jet lagged on top of it and all that. So we've just been really relaxing, and we have this lovely apartment that we rented. So if you're not a total history nerd like I am, Gdansk is where Lech Walesa had his solidarity movement, like the headquarters of this, and the Pope spoke here during communism. Pope John Paul was a huge figure in bringing down communism in Poland and all of this. And that happened here where we are. So there's a Solidarity Movement Museum, and the shipyards and the cranes and stuff like that are kind of big symbols where we are. So there's this big mural behind me that kind of represents all that. But yeah, so we're just kind of doing that thing. So for me, it's 9:30 at night. Yeah, 9:30 at night. Right? I don't even know. The amount of time yesterday, Amanda and I were talking about something, and I said, please don't tell me what time it starts. Tell me in how many hours and minutes the thing starts, because I've got on all my devices have different times and all this kind of stuff. But in any event, it's like prime trick-or-treating time right now. And we're in an apartment building. So every once in a while, my son's service dog is like, trick-or-treater alert, trick-or-treater alert. And so full disclosure, if there's some wacky edits in this episode, it's because of that. It's Waffles. But yeah, so we've just been kind of relaxing. We did go out though for a very Polish experience today, though. We found a pierogi place near the house that had gluten-free pierogies because one of my kids is wildly allergic to wheat and gluten. And so we went and did that. I will say that Tauber family review of pierogies was not exceptional. Like one of my kids said, how could it be wet and dry all at the same time? And I do have two of my kids are like super foodies. And then there was a comment about like, well, like, where's the flavor? There's no flavor in this thing, right? Like, because they're used to stuff that's just like a little bit more, got a little bit more punch to it. But we did it. And so like, check that off the cultural to-do list for this week. We went out and experienced authentic pierogies and gluten-free authentic pierogies, if you will. But the super cool thing was I had said to the server at the restaurant, I said, can I please have like a little bowl of water or whatever? Because Waffles was with us. And she said, we have a dog menu. And they had a full dog menu. They had a beef option, a turkey option, a chicken option, and a lamb option for dogs. And so she got the turkey. It had turkey and carrot and sweet potato and all kinds of stuff and spinach. And they put ice cubes in there for added crunch. And it was a whole thing. So she was a happy camper. We all had fun. So yeah, but it was good. I'm excited to dive in today and chat about gifts and all sorts of good stuff. It feels good to finally, after weeks and weeks of saying like, we're almost done with our move. We're almost done with our move. Like, we're out, right?
Yeah.
So it feels good.
Yeah, that's it. And you're doing a little bit, I mean, you definitely have things going on, but you're doing a little bit of a more slow travel version. It's not completely slow. You're not doing the like 6 months in one place kind of travel that some people talk about, but your life is slowing down. And I find that even if I have things I have to do or places we're going or things like on the agenda, if we're overseas somewhere, it removes like a lot of those just everyday things that are time sucks, right? You know, and so like it does free up your time a little bit. So hopefully you'll feel that freedom here soon.
Yes, here's hoping. I'm still trying to get caught up on some stuff, and it's just, you know, silly things like, I mean, they're not silly, but they're just kind of like little administrative things, right? Like we left South Carolina. Our technically our home address in the US is in Florida. So I'm getting my kids established as homeschoolers in Florida and like, all that kind of stuff. It's like scan this document, send it to this person, get this confirmation. So I'm still kind of doing that. And then like little stuff like switching our car insurance over to Florida and canceling our homeowner's insurance on the house we just sold. So it's like all that kind of stuff is my time suck right now. But like the list is getting shorter. So the end is in sight.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
All right. So let's go ahead and get into it. So we're talking about gifts. And like Meagan said, we thought of this because we're heading into the kind of end of the year. So you've got whatever you choose to celebrate or not celebrate, right? The end of the year is a popular time for trying to come up with gifts for people, whether it's Hanukkah gifts or it's Kwanzaa gifts or it's solstice gifts or Christmas gifts. I'll put this out there, I may refer to it as a Christmas gift or something like that, just because we do Christmas, we do a secular version of Christmas. And then my kiddo also has a birthday right around that time as well. So that's what we do. But I mean, obviously we buy Kwanzaa and Hanukkah gifts for other people and things like that. So we're not trying to push it in one direction or the other. And we're not talking, like religious buy your first Bible kind of gifts, even if I accidentally call it a Christmas gift, right? I'm the Santa and Buddy the Elf version of Christmas.
Yes, I know. Well, and that's the great irony is that we're Jewish and we love elf and Santa and like all that kind of stuff too, And it was funny because one time I said to the rabbi, I said, we have a Christmas tree. And he goes, is there a baby Jesus in a manger under it? And I was like, no. He's like, then enjoy your tree. Like he was like, whatever, like it's just a tree, So yeah, so I totally agree. Yeah. There's so much fun in the commercial Christmas entity. I mean, it's just become such a thing that it's a good time, even if you're not doing the religious component of it.
Yeah. And I'm going to Europe, so I'm going to drink all the mulled wine, which is a really important part of Christmas there. So I'm not sad. But it kind of is a perfect segue into talking about experience gifts, right? I don't know a parent out there who wouldn't love for someone in their family to actually pay for the membership for all of the many things that they would like to go do. So one example, we have talked about this in earlier episodes, but super popular, super common thing that all families like, but homeschool families especially, children's museums. Children's museums can range. There are some that are really good for the before they start school crowd. There are others that go, well through elementary school. There are some that have just great exhibits for kind of all ages and that will really intrigue your up through your high schooler. But, that thing, definitely check into it. We're coming into that time of year where lots of those places will have their Black Friday sales or maybe their Cyber Monday sale. And so it's worth it to check and see if you can get, just a children's version or maybe a gift card that they can apply towards their membership if the actual membership is a little steep for what your budget is. But children's museum memberships, huge fan of it.
A lot of times they have classes too. I know when my kids were younger, they used to go to the Children's Museum for puppet hour and all kinds of stuff like that. And the Science Center would have all kinds of classes on with kind of hands-on labs and things like that, where maybe at home you wouldn't necessarily want to buy 27 different things that you need to accomplish this, but because they're doing it at a larger scale and they're repeating the activities, it makes sense for them to have them. And so it opens up more opportunities like that as well.
Yeah, no, for sure. We definitely did classes at both the Science Center and at Aaron Space. At our local Science Center, you can get a membership level that includes a monthly talk with an astronomer or an astrologist. And it's called the Night Sky. And so they do it and you can go in person and they also stream it for those who can't make it if you happen to not be there or you're not feeling well or whatever. But I mean, talk about a super fun thing that is appropriate for all ages. I know in our house, my husband and I have definitely used it as a date night where we just, we each open a beer and we listen and we learn something new and they talk about some new black hole they've discovered or, just such interesting things. And that's part of a membership, right? You just have to look at the different things that they're offering, the different levels. So many great options that are available at science centers, museums, things like that for sure.
Yeah. Okay. Botanical gardens are another one. Do you have a nice botanical gardens by you, Amanda? I would assume you somewhere nearby.
I would assume so too.
Not on your list so far, right?
I am certain I've heard about a really nice botanical garden or 5. And so if you can't tell, they're not really my jam. Actually, one of Winston's spelling words this week was arboretum. And every time he gets to it, he's like, what is that again? I'm like, it's like a botanical garden for trees. And he's like, yeah.
Also not on his hit list then, right?
Yeah, I know.
We enjoy the botanical gardens. We had a really nice one when we lived in North Carolina, a really terrible one when we lived in Texas. There's an amazing one in Atlanta that we loved. We had an annual pass for that one. Oh my gosh, they had this, the thing from Moana where the island looks like a person and that whole thing. They had like this huge installation that was a fountain over this water piece that looked like that, but it was all done out of greenery and everything. And they would do these topiaries that looked like dragons and all kinds of stuff. They were super cool. And there's usually a playground and a splash pad and stuff like that at the ones that we've been to. Not the terrible one in Texas, but the others. So the one in Texas, my son called the Botanical Gardens because he was like, this is just like dirt and cactus. And I'm like, yeah, I know it does kind of stink, but some of them are amazing. And again, a lot of times they run classes. So it opens up educational opportunities as well, which is cool.
Yeah.
So
nice.
All right. So this next one, are you skiers, Amanda? Like we kind of compiled our list together and I was like, oh, I'm not sure if Amanda's family does that thing.
So we are not big skiers, though actually in just a couple weeks, we're taking a week ski vacation. So this is a perfect one, right? Lift tickets. Lift tickets are freaking expensive.
Ridiculous.
And so, yeah, if you can, again, these are one of those things. There's the Black Friday sales, the Cyber Monday sales. Sometimes there are local ones. Like I know there's like a SoCal lift ticket deal that they have been advertising where you can get into like each place in the state or like within kind of driving distance one time for this like really discounted price with this one specific ticket. So there are lots of different options. It's definitely worth looking into. And if you have family who like to do this, by all means, I think it's great and a lot of fun.
I don't know if they do this everywhere, but like when we lived in North Carolina, we had homeschool ski days, which were great. If you think about it, these resorts are not making a ton of money when school is in session because people aren't vacationing and kids are in school. So even local kids aren't coming until after school hours if they're on ski teams or whatever. So they would do during the day from 9 to 3, and it would be a way for them to make money when no one else was available except homeschoolers. And it would be, I think it was like $35 or $25, and it was a 2-hour lesson and a lift ticket and equipment rental or something.
Amazing.
It was next to nothing. So it was App Mountain, right? Appalachian Mountain, which is like not like if people are listening who ski in like real snow and real places, they'll be like, really?
I lived in near Appalachian Mountain. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not like real.
Yeah. I mean, it's not amazing, but it's a great place to learn, right? For kids, It's a great place to learn.
Yeah. And it was local. And for us, it was inexpensive and we could pop over there fairly quickly and easily. And so I was able to get a pass for my kids. It was only valid when school was in session. So it wasn't specifically a homeschool pass, but we called it that. And it was $35 for the entire season at App Mountain.
Wow.
I know.
And you can't even pay to park at our ski resorts for that price.
I know. It's bananas. I've never seen it anywhere else, but you never know depending on where you live. And, or maybe there's plenty of people that are listening who run a homeschool co-op or, in South Carolina, we have like accountability associations and stuff like that. If you have a group where you've got some sort of buying power and you could approach them because they're not making any money during the week. They're more than happy to get concession money out of you and rental money out of you and all that kind of stuff if your lift ticket is discounted. So you never know. It's worth asking. Yeah. So there are definitely ways to ski on a budget. I will say skiing and combination skiing, snowboarding, my kids do a mix of both between them, is the only thing that I will sit through those god awful timeshare presentations for when we go to, it's like, I can't, but like eventually if you don't sign up at the beginning of that, they'll hound you and come to our thing. And they just keep increasing the number of lift tickets that they'll give you. And so I tell my kids all the time, I'm like, you owe me big time for those lift tickets because I hate going to those things, but there's always a way. And if you're listening to that whole thing being like, we can't afford groceries right now. If you missed our world schooling episode, Amanda's a big points hacker for travel hacking and points and stuff like that. And neither one of us spends a fortune to travel. Like we are We are budget travelers, and we're more than happy to help you figure out how to travel on a budget as well. If that's something that you're interested in, you can come to our Patreon Q&As and stuff like that and pick our brains all you want on how to see the world on a budget. So don't be intimidated.
Yeah, that's it. In a couple of weeks, we're doing a week ski vacation. We're doing it over the week of Thanksgiving, and we're staying in a 1-bedroom hotel room. I booked one that specifically I'm like, I want a fireplace because I don't ski or snowboard. The couple times that I've gone, I've dislocated something every time I've gone. We're not friends. But I wanted ski in, ski out. I wanted a really nice outdoor seating area, like a balcony or something. I wanted a fireplace because I'm like, if I have to be there all week, stuck, reading and whatever, I have visions of curling up with a comfy, fluffy blanket and reading while they're out playing in the snow. I paid not a dime for our hotel room, right? The entire time. It's all on points. And yeah, I'm very happy to save that $2,500 that I should have been paying for the room, right? There are definitely ways to do it where it doesn't cost a fortune. We're still paying a fortune for lift tickets, but the hotel room itself is definitely cost free.
The next experience gift that we've got on our list is something I'm super excited because we're actually waiting for our results to come back, is Ancestry and or 23andMe. Now, before we decided on which one to do, I watched a ton of videos on YouTube about comparisons between the two, which one is better. And after watching quite a few extensive videos where people went through the difference between the two, it's each one has perks that the other one doesn't have, and it's kind of a net effect in the end. So we ended up doing Ancestry for 2 reasons. Number one, on Prime Days last month, it was cheaper than 23andMe by $20 a kit, and I was buying 4 kits. So that was $80. So we went with Ancestry. And then number 2, 23andMe right now is having some financial difficulty, and there was talk about them selling to a company, and then what happens to all your DNA. And I mean, that's always been the talk about these things anyway, is you're giving your DNA to people and whatever, but that one seemed a little bit more risky than the average right now. But I'm really excited. We're in Eastern Europe. My husband's family is from Eastern Europe, his dad's side of the family. And so I thought before we go, let's spit in this tube and send it off and see what we get back. It'll just be a little bit more meaningful. But I think that would be fun because you can literally go into this whole thing about, family history and geography, and explore cooking and explore the history of the times that your families might have migrated and why did they travel and all that kind of stuff. So those will be on sale for sure on Black Friday. I was originally going to wait for that. And then Amanda was like, it'll be on sale on Prime Days. And I ended up waiting for that. And it was ridiculously discounted on Prime Days.
Yeah. You can get really good deals on it when you do those sale days for sure. So yeah. And I will say, I think this is a great one if you have a teenager. Sometimes it's a little hard to find things for the older kids, but if you have a teenager who is at all interested in genealogy stuff, this can be such a fun way to kind of piggyback off that and dive into it and get an idea of oh, I want to look into this or that. A teenager might really enjoy diving into that. Or you.
I'm excited. We all did it. I did it. And then my 3 kids did it. My husband was like, whatever. He's not a history nerd. For me, I wanted to know, the history of where his family came from. There's a lot that's been lost because of the Holocaust. So his whole family spawns from 2 people. And so, there's obviously a ton of history there. And when those 2 people left Romania, they were 15 and 17. So, they wouldn't have even necessarily have had the interest or the wherewithal to know all of the stuff that might be out there. And that's it. That's the whole family came from those 2 people. So it's a little tough to get history. And so I thought this could be a fun way to explore that. It could be good. So.
Yeah. I know for me in my family, the family story was always that we had been here, kind of forever, as long as white people have been in the United States, my family had been here. And it was kind of always one of those yeah, I mean, maybe there's some truth to that. You can trace it a certain way back. But with Ancestry, it will actually show you your DNA is related to this group of settlers that came to the United States, and they started on the coast and they moved into this part. And it was 100% accurate, right? They moved into Central America, and then they moved into, northern Missouri, and like really specific stuff that showed that, yeah, like from the late 1400s and early 1500s, which was pretty cool. And then, yeah, we did some additional genealogy stuff with it too, about some interesting things. So yeah, I think that's a fun one. So another one is adopt an animal, right? These can be really fun. And I do think that they're really fun. I'm going to urge you to do a little bit of research before you adopt an animal, because some of them are far more cringy and exploitative than actually helpful. But there are some really great ones. Like I know for a fact that there is kind of like an adopt an animal version for South African penguins through a really great organization in South Africa that helps protect the penguins there. I know zoos can be a little problematic, but I also know that San Diego Zoo, they put a lot of work and effort into programs around the world, and they're doing a lot of really cutting edge science with trying to bring back extinct species using IVF and surrogates and all of this kind of stuff. So, you know, something like that might be good. And especially if you have a younger kiddo, a lot of times when you adopt an animal, you get a stuffed animal that looks like it, or you have some kind of a tracking thing where you can see the animals like migrating and things like that, which are great, right? I mean, it's fun and you're teaching civics and social responsibility and these kinds of things, but you can also turn that into a geography lesson. You can talk about science with migration patterns and things like that. There's loads you can do with that. And they get a stuffy out of it. I mean, a lot of kids love
There's usually pictures and all kinds of stuff that comes with
it.
So yeah, if your kiddo has an animal that they're particularly passionate about, or if they're passionate about conservation, there's options for you to kind of create that financial support for their interest, but then also create that tie to the animal as well, which is pretty cool. Yeah. Another one I'll throw out there are Outschool gift cards. If you're not familiar with Outschool, it is a great resource online. There are over 140,000 classes on the website, I think, which sounds really overwhelming, but there's a lot of really great filters in the search catalog too. And so we've been using Outschool since 2017 for online classes. My kids have taken everything from language classes to book clubs to, in fact, one of my kids is about to walk through this room in 7 minutes and go to another room where she can log into an Outschool class and not disturb our podcast. So she met her best friend on Outschool. And so they meet every Thursday with this teacher, and they have kind of a themed social group that they do. They've been doing that for 4 years now. My kiddo earlier was in math, biology, there's gaming classes, like literally anything you could possibly want is on Outschool. But it can be cost prohibitive for many. Completely understand. It's been a bit of a chicken or the egg situation, right? Class prices have gone up on Outschool because cost of living has gone up, and the educators who are teaching the classes need to make a living wage. But then at the same time, it's also made it prohibitive for some families. So if that's one of those things that's kind of like a treat thing for you, or, you know, you've got a long list of classes and you're trying to, you know, spread the budget to cover as many as possible, it would be a great opportunity for classes. I will also say it's a marketplace. If you're not sure, like any marketplace, there's good, and then there's classes that will not be an amazing hit. If you take one class and it's not amazing, it's a marketplace, right? There's reviews, there's parent groups that you can join to ask for you can ask for questions, read the description very thoroughly, watch the teacher video before you pick a class. All of that stuff leads you to having a good experience, right? But just like anything else, there's not 140,000 amazing classes, right? There's or not amazing for you, right? There's going to be times too where a teacher just isn't a good fit for your kiddo. If you're ever looking for recommendations, feel free to DM us or come join our Facebook group and ask questions and stuff. Amanda and I have both been using Outschool for a really long time, so we're pretty good at kind of sussing through the descriptions and figuring out what's there.
Yeah, no. And I think the nice thing about Outschool, and there are other great online platforms as well, but this thing that's nice about Outschool specifically when talking about gifts is, say that you have an aunt or an uncle who is maybe an artist, or they are, you know, really, maybe they're a rocket scientist, whatever they are, and they would like to be able to share that with the kid. Or maybe they really like chess, but they're not around enough to be able to teach. And so they can give an Outschool gift card, and they can even say, you know, this is so you can take an art class in colored pencils or watercolor or in rocket design or aviation, airplanes, or whatever it is. And it gives them a chance to connect, and then they have something that they can talk about. So my brother has definitely done this kind of thing with my kiddo, where we'll pick a class and then they will be able to talk whether we're all together. So they're talking more like every day, or maybe not quite that often, but it gives like an extra connection point. So it's going beyond just an experience gift, but it's a family bonding time as well. So I think that's a really awesome option for kind of the aunts, the uncles, maybe even the grandparents, you know, if there's something, maybe the chess thing or something like that, where they would really want to be able to connect, but maybe they're not the best teacher for your kiddo. You need someone who's actually good at teaching kids to teach them first, and then you can connect over it, kind of thing. So yeah, that's great. So one other one that might not necessarily seem so experience membershipy, but that I think is great, is foreign currency. Now, this applies specifically if you know that your family is going to be going somewhere in the New Year's, or a lot of people like to go for holiday travel. And I just think it can be really fun for a kid to get an envelope of euros or wherever it is you're going. So some spending money, some pocket money in the actual currency where you're going. And you can pick that up pretty easily from your bank, or if you happen to be flying yourself and you're at an airport, right? Currency exchanges or things like that. I mean, you know, don't do lots of money there because it's not the best exchange rate. But if you're just getting $20 as a fun, you know, stocking stuffer or a random gift kind of thing, I think that's fun. I also think that scratch tickets are really fun, although I know technically it's illegal to give a kid a scratch ticket, but I mean, you know, come on, which one of us did not? Oh. Yeah. So those are some kind of fun things, and more, you know, like experience specific things. Although if you're getting a membership, it's going to last you kind of all year long. Our next idea is like subscription gift ideas, and there are tons of them out there, but we went ahead and picked some of our favorites of things that you can get. Many of them you can sign up for, so it's a full year subscription, but a lot of them offer maybe 3 months or 6 months. If you have a smaller budget and you're like, oh, holy smokes, that's a really expensive subscription, I can't do a whole year of that. Like, don't be afraid to look and do even just 3 months. So the first one is, this is popular. Probably everyone has heard of this, but Kiwi Crate. It's popular because it's actually really good. And also, I'm going to, like, full disclosure ahead of time, we will have affiliate links for some of these. We will not have it for all of them. Some of them have affiliate programs, some of them don't. Some of them we're not going to bother with. So you can check out our notes and we might be able to make a little bit of money off of you signing up for them, but it's not any, we're not retiring
not covering
off
your
this
lift
money.
tickets,
So
Amanda,
don't worry about that. But yeah, so no, it's not. But yeah, Kiwi Crate, they say their kits start at 6 and go up to 16 with kind of 3 different age ranges. I think that you can go a little younger than 6 as long as you're working with your kiddos and you're helping them. We definitely did some at the 4 and 5 age range, and they have all kinds of things, right? They've got like the small printing press. I know right now the one that's really popular is a thing that sets up your Lego or your dominoes. It'll walk along and set dominoes up so you can knock them down. There's a spinning sand garden. We often do the ones that are holiday themed. So there's one where you can turn an egg into a rubber. It's basically a rubber ball. By the time it's a raw egg, that becomes like a rubber ball. There's all kinds of fun things. So the subscription gift is awesome. I will say that Kiwi Crate, if you're a family member or even you, it can get expensive for the subscription. And so if you can't afford it, they will run really good Black Friday sales again and Cyber Monday sales. They do a lot of good sales, but they also sell one-off kits, and they will have the one-off kits on sale during those bigger sales as well. So it's possible to just buy some and have them sent to the kiddo, you know, with a like, hey, get one, you know, pull one out when each time, because the subscription's a little too expensive.
Well, I feel like too, well, and I think too, when we were talking about museum memberships and stuff like that, and maybe that lump sum being a big nut to crack for some family members or something, these tend to get billed monthly. So a lot of times it's a smaller, more digestible gift that keeps on giving throughout the year, because instead of it being like $100 or $150 up front, it's like $20 a month or something like that. And that does, for many people, tend to make things more accessible. All right, so the next one is Crunch Labs. If you are not familiar with Mark Rober, your kids probably are. He does a whole bunch of really high energy, fun YouTube videos on engineering things. He used to be a NASA engineer, and now he does these YouTube videos. He does this one thing, it was like a squirrel parkour video or something, and that's like the thing that went the most viral for him. I know my kid showed it to me when it came out and he was like, you did this thing with these squirrels. So he does monthly kits that are out there. The videos feature him and he's so captivating and so energetic, which is awesome. It comes with all the project components, the instruction book comes with pictures in it. And the thing that I really like about this kit is it comes with explanation of the STEM concepts. Sometimes I feel like other kits that we've tried, not ones that we're talking about today, but other kits that we've tried, you're following a sequence of steps, but you have no idea why you're doing the thing that you're doing or what the bigger picture lesson is behind them. And at the end, you've created this thing, but you have no way of transferring the knowledge that you've just gained to something else because there isn't a knowledge transfer, right? All you know are those 8 steps or those 10 steps. And that is not the case here, which is pretty nice. It's a big difference. So they have 2 options. They have a build box for ages 8 to 12. There are certainly kids that are younger that could tackle these things with a little bit of extra hands-on support from their adults. And then they have what they call the hack pack for teens and even for adults that get into much deeper engineering concepts, which are really, really cool.
So another one, if you are wanting to use the holidays as a chance to kind of add real educational content, not so much like extra content, is Schoolhouse Discoveries. So it's a subscription thing again, and it's essentially a unit study in a box with everything that you need. So you get 8 lessons, 20 activities. It's an illustrated book. There are digital activity pages. It's great for like your hands-on multidisciplinary learner. And so if you're looking for a way to, sometimes it's like, well, I want learning toys, or, well, I want it to be something that we wouldn't normally spend money on. But sometimes you're just like, look, things are a little tight and we got to find a fun way to like gift it, but it actually be practical in our everyday life. This is an awesome opportunity for that.
We've also got universal yums on our list. Super fun. I mean, it's literally just snacks and candies and things like that from different parts of the world. It's a great way to lean into geography and culture and social studies and things like that. But you get to try out some really cool snacks at the same time. Some of them are going to be a hit. Some of them won't, but it'll teach you a whole lot. You also see how overly sweet American food is compared to other countries when you try some of the stuff that comes from other countries. So interesting and fun. So universal yums is just a fun thing to do once a month.
Yeah. And, I actually just today saw that they are doing an advent calendar this year. So if you're trying to figure out what to do for that, again, our family, we're not religious. We're not counting down anything, but we think it's all fun to open something, every day as you're like, leaning into the holiday spirit. And so we do different things. One year I did a kindness one that encouraged me to do like acts of service every day. And we're looking at maybe like a couples one that gives you like something to talk about each night or connect on. And Winston often gets one of the Lego ones, just different things like that. But I was like, oh, a universal yums one, that is so fun, right? Because the whole family can get into that and you can really enjoy it. And I think it was maybe like $30. So, I mean, not unreasonable at all. So definitely check that out. Another one that kind of plays into what I was talking about before, but there is something called the Coin and Currency Club. So it's online, right? You can just Google Coin and Currency Club. They have foreign coins and banknotes. It comes with a currency guide, fact sheet about the country, a postcard from that country. You can try out some cultural recipes, language lessons, flag and money stickers. Like it's a whole way to do an entire geography lesson through coins and currency, which can be really fun for certain kiddos, right? Some kiddos are not going to dig that at all, but we all know those unique little souls that are going to absolutely eat that up. So that could be a fun one to
Creation Crate. I probably should have brought this one up sooner when we were talking about the other STEM ones, but that's okay. We're going back to STEM. Creation Crate. Okay. My boys did Creation Crate and they loved it because it was more technology, more engineering. I don't know. It was kind of a different step for them when they felt like they were done with Kiwi Crate. Creation Crate was great, right? So there were breadboards in there and there were Arduino circuits and they were learning C++ coding language and things like that. So there are different options. You can focus on tech, science, or mechanics through Creation Crate. So if you have that gearhead kid that just wants to know how things work and they want to take things apart and they want to, figure out all that kind of stuff, Creation Crate is awesome. one thing that I really liked about Creation Crate is if they get stuck on something and they're like, Mom, how do I do this thing? And I'm like, I don't know. Right. Yeah. And then you're just dead in the water, right? Creation Crate has email, video, and phone support. So your kiddo and you can call and say, hey, I've connected this thing to that thing and it's not doing the thing it's supposed to. And somebody will help you with that. So I love that added component that comes with Creation Crate, which is great.
Yeah, that is nice. And so I'm the one that talked about Kiwi Crate, and I failed to mention the fact that they have a lot of art stuff as well. So if you have a kiddo who likes to do that, I know we have like a felted succulent garden sitting on our shelf of like to-do boxes, and there was like a sewing kit of some sort. And, you know, so they have all different kinds of things. They're not just purely sciencey STEM stuff. I feel like the other one that is really well known that kind of counterpoint with Kiwi Crate is Mel Science. And it's actually also really good. So Mel Science, they say that their kits start for at 5 years old and go up to teen, right? You've got STEM for the younger kids, physics for kind of in the middle kids, and then chemistry, they say, is for older. I would, again, one of those, as long as a parent is doing it with them, I think you can do the chemistry kits with quite a bit younger kids than what they might outline. If you're homeschooling, they also offer sets or kits at a quite discounted price. It takes a little bit of work to get it set up and get it ordered, but it's definitely worth looking at if you want to do a big chunk of them as a gift or at any time, right? Because you've got the money, or maybe a family member has said, hey, I want to give you $100 to help you with your homeschooling stuff. It's worth looking at the Mel Science kits, specifically if you Google like their homeschool packages.
These are great too, like
for
those who live in states where there's ESA money or charter money and it's a use it or lose it situation. So some states roll over, but I know I see posts sometimes throughout the year where it's like, I have to spend $800 by Tuesday, right? You can order a full year's worth of, and they'll let you pay ahead, and you can kind of stockpile those to avoid losing your funds, which is great.
Yeah. California is one of those states. And for the school year, I know in most of the schools here have to spend all of their money by like mid-April. And so you don't really know what you're going to want to do if something's going to pop up in May, but this is a great way to, and especially, like I said, I personally have done the bulk homeschool purchase with Mel Science, so I know it's not that challenging, or at least it wasn't a couple years ago when I did it. So great way to use up those funds. A couple other things that I think are really great if you're looking at subscriptions, it's kind of the gift that keeps on giving, are magazine subscriptions. There are some that are great, like adult magazines that are totally appropriate for kids. I know Popular Mechanics is one that's really popular here in our house, but also my kiddo loves the Week Junior magazine. I know a lot of people who like that. Now, full disclosure, I was curious, so I went and researched it. We've had a subscription for a long time, but I wanted to know for sure. And online, it does say that it's slightly left-leaning. I don't necessarily think it's particularly left-leaning. It seems like a pretty solid news resource, but we'll just put that out there. But I really think the Week Junior is a great one. It's for a little bit younger kids, I would say. By the time they're 11 or 12, especially if they've been getting it for a year or two, they're going to be kind of like, okay, I'm ready for something else. And at that point, you might look at some other ones. Your kid might be ready for something like Newsweek, or I'm not too sure, but you could also look at, I have no idea how to pronounce this magazine. OLYA. I'm not sure. It's OLYA. I've seen tons of ads for it. It's a science magazine. They advertise as 12 and up. And it's super well reviewed, really popular. I'm thinking it'll probably make an appearance in our home soon. If you have a younger kid, you can do the Lego magazine. It only comes out 4 or 5 times a year, but it's actually free. And so as long as your kid's not listening to this, they'll have no idea that you got them a free Lego magazine subscription.
Yes.
But I just love magazine subscriptions. I think they're so fun. Like the Week Junior, it comes every week. So it is a little bit more expensive, but they get something every week. And there's book recommendations and TV show reviews, and they cover important things that are going on around the world. just, it's such a great resource.
Well,
and
it's
then
fun
other
to get
ones,
mail
are
too.
more
Who
like a
doesn't love
monthly
getting mail? I
kind of
remember
thing.
when I was a kid, just, getting even just like a card with a chocolate in it from my grandma and being like, I've got mail. My kids liked Ranger Rick when they were younger, which is animal based.
Yep.
So that was a huge hit. But I also feel like magazines are a great resource for kids who are not avid readers, because there's the way the text is formatted,
Yeah.
there's not solid walls of text like there is in a book. There's a lot of pictures, there's a lot of font changes, there's a lot of call outs. And so I feel like it's a really friendly way to get into reading a bit more. If your kiddo doesn't love reading or has some reading struggles, magazines are an awesome route to that, which is pretty cool.
No, absolutely. And let's be real. I'm doing a novel study with my kid right now, and I can't stand the book that we're reading together, but I got to read it so that we can talk through all of the questions. Like, if you want to practice reading comprehension and things like that with a kid that isn't super excited about novels, and you're not super excited about reading a bunch of elementary or middle grade novels, this is a great way to practice it, right? Like, you can read the same magazine. They're quick, they're bite-sized nuggets. It shouldn't be the only place you're practicing reading comprehension. At some point, you are going to have to be able to do something more than half a page in a magazine, but it's a great place to start practicing those, just those general comprehension skills.
All right. So we have one last category. We want to talk about games, which love games. We literally have games with us. We went out I mentioned at the start of our episode that we went out for pierogies before we recorded, and we got there and my kids were like, "You don't have a game in your purse?" I was like, "No, I forgot. I was off my rhythm." So we love games. But first, we want to just go through, but first, just kind of a quick word from us. We will be wrapping up our very first season in just a few weeks. Can you believe we're at the end of our first season, Amanda?
I know, and we will have published over 60 episodes in our first season. So we're not TV. Okay, we did not go with 21 episodes and be like, "Yo, people wait a whole year." Or Netflix, where you get 8 and then you have to wait a year and a half for the next one.
And
we put out more than 60
It's October
episodes.
31st. We'll be back in January. So we're just doing a small break between seasons.
Yeah.
So we wanted to let you know that during our break season, we're going to be releasing short snippets. We're calling them unfiltered bites. That way you don't miss us too much. So today we're discussing gift giving, and you can expect that theme to continue through our unfiltered bites. So a couple of things that we have coming up, like if you need to buy your kiddo a computer, it's the age-old computer, Chromebook, what do I buy? What do I look for? All of that. We'll have, not from us, we'll have a guest on who will help with that. No,
this is not me. You do not want my advice. My advice is ask my husband, but you would not appreciate that. Please don't email my husband. Everyone on here.
And conversely, we're literally having my husband on because he's the computer picker from our house. And I was like, I need you to help people the way you help me and come on and do a quick episode. So they'll be short, 15-minute snippets. So we'll do that. We're also going to cover microscopes, DSLR cameras, all kinds of stuff that are popular homeschool purchases. 3D printers is another one. But if it's not your jam and you don't know what it is, and you go on Amazon and you're trying to read the descriptions and look at the reviews and all that, and you're like, I don't know what to buy. And some of these things are not cheap. You don't want to screw it up, right? So we're going to have just kind of here's an example of a low range option, a mid range option, maybe the break the bank option in case you really want to go for it. If it's something your kid's really into, here are the features you want to look for. Here's the things you want to stay away from, and just kind of these short unfiltered bites, so that you can get those. So our first unfiltered bite will air on November 26th. So keep your eyes out. Those will be coming. And our guests will all be happy to answer questions after the fact. If you leave comments or whatever, we can get in touch with all of them and circle back and get your questions answered. So we're looking forward to doing those. Those will be fun.
Yeah, that's it. We aren't actually going away, right? It's you'll still be able to download every week. You'll get to hear from us. We just won't be here with our long, full length episodes.
A little break
in between our season 1 and season 2. So it's exciting. Yeah.
All right. So we are a big game household,
and we definitely use games as a learning kind of thing. I don't know. I'm not sure we have any games that don't have a pretty solid educational component to them. Perhaps to my child's dismay. My husband's dismay more, probably. He's like, another money game, another multiplication game, another. Yes. Another history timeline game, really? And and Winston is like, yes, I can totally crush this game, right? Like he took it to his grandparents' house, played with my dad, and my dad was like, oh my gosh, I didn't know it. Like my mom was like,
That's fantastic.
He
I
wiped
love
the
it.
floor with me, right? So,
All right,
games are
so a
fun.
couple to go through. One that is popular in our house that is, I think, a hidden gem in the game. So I feel like there's posts all the time on Facebook, like what games, and it's the same game, right? It's like Catan and Ticket to Ride. It's the same games.
Yeah.
Right.
But there are so many. There are so many games. So, okay, here's the thing. We just picked a few. We picked out some that we think are highlights. There are so many out there. There are so many great ones out there. You can absolutely come on our page or join our group and ask for specific things like, oh, I want something that has to do with this, or I'm looking for something that's really small and easy to travel with, or whatever. Ask us. We're happy to give you more ideas because, I mean, we're talking, I'm a dabbler. We still have probably 25 board games in our home, right? Like we're a dabbler because we've only got 25 games.
We've got you covered. This one is one that never comes up. Okay, we went camping one time. This might blow your mind, Amanda. I don't know if I've ever told you this story. So my son met this kid in an Outschool class. I had never talked to the kid. I had never talked to the mom. And they started talking outside of the Outschool class, right? We were going to be passing through Colorado in our camper van where this kid lives. So he says, can we meet up with so-and-so? I'm like, of course, right? I'm thinking dinner, a burger, an ice cream, right? This is what I'm thinking. Next thing I know, my kid was like, can you book this campsite for 3 days? Yeah. I'm like, pardonnez-moi. So I've never met these people before. I'm like, if this woman shows up with like, you know, with like, we've camped before at some campgrounds where the campers are decked out in like, yes, like the MAGA don't tread on me, like the whole, nonsense. And I'm like, oh crap. If this lady shows up and she's like an absolute fruitcake and I am stuck, we were off grid camping, no internet, nothing. I'm like, okay, but I agreed to, I'm the nut job that agreed to it, even without talking to the mom. I was like, sure, let's do it. We were staying right outside. Exactly. Right. We were staying right outside Sand Dunes National Park or whatever in Colorado. It was amazing. We had the best time ever, all that. So, and she wasn't a nut job. Thank you. So that worked out really well. But they brought with them this game called Letter Tycoon. And immediately my kids were like, we need to get Letter Tycoon. So it's this odd game where you make words. And so you're collecting alphabet letters, kind of like tiles and Scrabble, only they're cards. And you're making words, but then you're also buying the patents to letters. So you're buying the patent for like the letter S or the letter V or something like that. And then whenever anybody makes a word using a letter that you own, they owe you money for this thing. So there's money involved, there's business involved, there's vocabulary involved, there's creative thinking, like, and then there's strategy too, because then sometimes there's these cards that you can pick up and it's like, you know, you can double any letter. So let's say you have the letter to spell boss, BOSS, but you're missing one S, right? But you have this card that you can now double letter. Oh, I can double my S because I have it, right? So it's the coolest game. Okay, so I can tell you where it ranks in the hierarchy of games in my house. So we've just moved. There were kind of 4 categories of games. There were games that got purged. There were games that got boxed up that it was like when we see them again, we see them. There were games that didn't come with us, but they are still very accessible in storage. And then there are games that we replaced with travel size editions. And so Letter Tycoon, I could not replace in a travel size edition, but it is very, very accessible in storage so that the minute we get back to the US, it can easily be found. So Letter Tycoon ranks very high in my household. It's a really fun game. Yeah. And then I mentioned travel editions. So we did just replace a bunch of our games. Some of them I got rid of the original version and just kept the travel, thinking it's silly for us to have 2 versions of something. Monopoly is the exception to that. We bought Travel Monopoly. Oh my gosh, it is the tiniest little thing. The money is so small, like so small. It is maybe 5 inches by 5 inches. It is so tiny and it folds in half. And so the money and the houses and stuff can sit inside. So that's adorable. I did still keep we have National Park Monopoly. That is the US National Parks. And there was no way my kids were giving that up. So that's still in the easily accessible and storage pile. Travel Monopoly is with us. I replaced Rummy Cub with a travel version. If you've not played Rummy Cub, it's super strategy oriented, and also Mexican Train, which is a super popular game in our household. And the tiles are itty bitty. And it's really cool. They actually, the one that I bought, the travel edition, that they're dominoes, right? And so dominoes are pretty hefty. Like they're not a lightweight item. The ones that I bought, they replaced the inside of the dominoes with foam to make them lighter so that it's just a shell around. And I was like, oh, that was so smart. And it's in this little tiny travel case and it's super cute. So we have those with us. We've always got a deck of cards with us. We have magnetic checkers with us. So we've always got something travel sized with us, which is pretty awesome. Another one that stayed in storage in the easy to access pile is Code Break. Now, I think Amanda and I were talking about it and she was like, is this like Mastermind? It might be. I'm not familiar with Mastermind. Maybe when I describe Code Break, you'll be able to tell me. I bought Code Break at Five Below. So it might be one of those things where it's like the cheesy off-brand version of what you're talking about because it was like $4. Okay. So there's a code setter. Right. So you take, I think it's 6 pegs. They're all different colors, right? So it would be like pink, white, yellow, blue, red, right? And you put them in the slots and they're hidden. They're in like this little hidden compartment. And then the other person has to guess your code, right? So they start off and you put in, once they guess, you put in yellow and black pegs indicating to them how many they have correct and how many they don't. And then they have to, it's kind of like Wordle, where you have to then like swap out something to figure out which was the correct thing that was in place and which is the incorrect thing. And so there's so much critical thinking and so much strategy in Code Break. And it really is this cheesy like $4 game from Five Below, but my boys love it. They absolutely love it. So is that like Mastermind? Did I describe Mastermind completely?
That is Mastermind. Yeah. And so that's totally cool. I grew up playing Mastermind. It was called Mastermind. When I was a kid, Mastermind, Othello, and a couple others were like the main games that we played. And I feel like most of those have gone out of fashion. And so when you had typed up Codebreak, I went on Amazon because that's what I always do. And there were some versions and I was like, that looks a lot like Mastermind. And then there was another version that said like Codebreak and then in parentheses like Mastermind. And I was like, oh, maybe I don't, and so I don't know, maybe they don't, like Mastermind is too old school and like they don't even have Mastermind anymore, or maybe like Codebreak is just more affordable and so it's taken it over. But yeah, Codebreak / Mastermind.
Yeah, I think I might have just had the off-brand that's a fun one, dollar store variety,
and it's pretty like. Yeah. And I will say it's pretty small. It's not a particularly large game. And there are different versions that can be a little bit smaller or a little bit bigger. It would be really easy to buy like one of those cloth bags or one of those reusable silicone zip bags and put the entire game in there and travel with it. So even though they don't make a tiny travel edition, that would be an easy one to travel with too. So another one that is great for at home or for traveling, you've got those true vocabulary ones. You've got like Bananagrams. That's, I think most people know what that looks like, right? It's in a banana, zip up banana, and it's got letter tiles in it. So you have Bananagrams and it's great for at home. They've got a little kid version. They've got the regular version, and they actually have like a really challenging version I just saw when I was doing my research. And then Scrabble as well. I will say in our house, we have a Scrabble to go version, the little travel version. It zips up in a little pouch. It's not super small, but it's pretty small. And that's what we use all the time. We will travel with it, but it's nice because it's kind of like the deluxe version where the letters actually like snap into the board. So it's good when you're actually, right? I mean, if you're playing with kids or just whatever's going on. Yeah. I hate when you're playing it and like someone accidentally hits the board and everything and you're like, oh my gosh. Right. So I love the travel version because little tiles actually click in and you're good to go. So yeah, travel games, we love those. Bananagram, Scrabble, I'm sure there are others, but those are a couple of our favorites. And then we talked about this before as a great game to make sure you're introducing into your family, Trivial Pursuit. So this was brought up during our SAT, ACT standardized testing thing about how useful it is for kids to really learn just cultural facts and information. They do have modern ones, and you can get packs that are like culture from the 90s, 2000s, and 2010s. But I would really encourage you to look at either the master version or the classic version and get just more of those general like, history and like foundational pieces that I feel like a lot of people are missing these days. And it's again, it's just one of those, like when you know what someone is referring to when they make kind of an obscure reference or joke, it helps you just fit in and be able to laugh, instead of being like, hi, I don't know what that means. Oh, that's so funny. Ha, 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 ha. Trivial Pursuit. It's a great way to be able to kind of build on that while still having fun, right? And you can get competitive, and there's different ways, right? There are different ways to play it. You can do one-on-one, and you can do teams,
we have that,
and all kinds of fun.
We do. We have the classic.
Do you all have it?
But we had that yesterday in the book club that I lead. There was a reference to the Queen of Sheba, and it was interesting because I thought to myself, even I've used that reference and I understand how to use it properly, but why Sheba? Why, of all the queens? It's a biblical reference, right? So of all the queens in the Bible and all the powerful women in the Bible, why is she the one that we say the Queen of Sheba, right? And so we ended up, my book club kids and I, we ended up going on this huge rabbit hole about why her? Where does that saying come from? Why did she become that saying? How is it used and all that? And and it was just this little drop in the book. She carries herself like the Queen of Sheba. And I was like, well, we really need to figure out why she's the one that we reference, right? Let's dig in. And so we had some fun with that, which was awesome.
Yeah. Another one that's for a little bit younger kids, but I think is a really great one that often gets overlooked. It's from Learning Resources. It's called Money Bags, and it's all about money and currency. So kids will roll or spin, and you end up having certain amounts of money that you have to get out, right? So it might be 26 cents, or it might be $1.13, and they have to figure out those amounts based on coins that actually look like the right size and all of that. And then it's a game, right? And the first person to the end, and there's, there's the pot that you can earn sometimes and different things like that. But it's a fun way to encourage math and math through currency and all of these early skills that they need to learn, but it's boring to learn it from a textbook or a math workbook. Get a game, right? And this is just one example of lots of things that you can do like this. So if you know that you're coming into a time or an age, you've got littles, look at what the games are that are out there and available. Like I was saying, we have a multiplication game, we have an addition game, we have a currency game, and we used a lot of those when Winston was younger.
Do you ever, now when you go to the store, I know so few of us pay cash, right? But when you pay for something and it's 26 cents or whatever, and then so you give some, it's let's say it's $12.26. And so you give somebody a 20 and then you go, oh, here, I have a penny. But they've already put the 20 into the computer, and you just see them freeze. They're like, I don't understand why you've just given me a penny.
They have no idea
I'm so
what to
confused
do
right now, And so it's
the number of times they give it back to me, right? And they give you the change back. No, you don't need this. It's not that much. No, but I would really prefer that you don't give me a handful of pennies.
These are skills that are missing in the real world.
This will help
if we can give them to our kids. That's great. Oh my goodness. Okay. So we recently stumbled upon mini Magna Tiles, which was super exciting. Magna Tiles are a super popular gift. They can be a little bit pricey though. So the mini version's a little bit better, which is nice, but they're also portable. Yeah. So how many of us as homeschool parents, you've got siblings and one sibling has the pediatrician or the OT or speech or, soccer practice or whatever. And then there's some other tag along sibling that's sitting there being like, ah. So, having these small, easy to go things, and these Magna Tiles are awesome. You can build towers, you can build cars, you can build all kinds of stuff with Magna Tiles. There's add-on sets.
Yeah, I think those are great. And then another thing that's along the same line is Wikki Stix, and not just Wikki Stix, but there's a Wikki Stix traveler set. So it comes in a little plastic clamshell type container, and in it, it's got a bunch of laminated cards with different shapes and pictures and images. And you use the Wikki Stix to create those shapes and to make those things. And so it gives you a bunch of ideas. So I just think it's a really great option for, again, if you're going somewhere, maybe even just at a restaurant, or if you're going to a doctor's appointment, or if you're stuck in the car, Wikki Stix are not going to be that bad. I would try to not leave them in the car if you live somewhere warm. That could get really messy really quick, but also great on planes, great for traveling, because the set is made so little kids can do it, but I know plenty of grown-ups who are more than happy to try to build things that actually stand up, or who doesn't love an opportunity to get creative with with these. I just think they're great. The first time I ever saw them was at a restaurant that's kind of this bougie restaurant here in La Jolla, California. And you just got a little set. I was like, oh, those are really fun. And then when I found this like traveler set, I was like, oh, this is going to be like our go-to gift for so many of our friends for years to come, right? Because people don't really know of it. They don't think about it, but like the amount of hours you can get out of a single set of Wikki Stix with like some prompts and then free play and all of that.
I mean, I was just going to say my kids loved those when they were little, but to your point, if you gave them a set right now, they would be all in. Like there is no age limit for Wikki Stix. We just haven't had them for a while because they've kind of moved on to other stuff. But yeah, if they were presented with them in a restaurant right now, they would be entertained for hours. So.
Right. That's it. That's one of those things, you know, sometimes we forget that creativity really has no age limit. And sometimes those toys that you're like, oh, well, we had those when they were little, but they don't anymore. Magna Tiles is a great example. Winston really wanted Magna Tiles when he was little. And I was like, we have so many Legos and so many other things. And like, we're just not going Magna Tiles. Even now, when he goes somewhere or kids have them or we're at a children's museum that has them, he is so happy to play with Magna Tiles. You know, like I wouldn't invest in a great big bin of them because I don't think he would actually play with them that often. But it's a great thing for when you pull it out once a month, or you know, you take it with you on a road trip, or you know you've got a long family dinner coming up, and so you bring a couple of things that they haven't played with for a while, but it'll be like, oh, the nostalgia of it and the creativity, like
along all those same lines. Not at all a space saving option, but my kids when they were younger loved Lincoln Logs, and on Black Friday they're always epic sales on Lincoln Logs. But we had the corral and the roof and the to make cabins and all kinds of stuff, and they're just fun. I mean, my kids loved them. So, and they still, again, to this day, they would still play with them if they were sitting in front of them right now. So
yeah.
All right, friends. Well, we do not have a recommended resource or anything else for you today because the entire episode was a recommended resource, right? But again, share the episode with friends, family, grandparents, whatever, anybody who's interested and they're like, I'm just at a loss for ideas. There's a ton of ideas that are out there that are amazing and creative and productive and educational, but fun. And we've tested all of them, and we wouldn't come here and tell you something that, well, buy this thing, and we've never tried. They're great.
For sure. Lots of great ones. There'll be some links in the show notes, but we will also actually put a blog post up on our website. So our website is, I know you're going to have a hard time remembering this, homeschoolmomsunfiltered.com. But on there we have a blog, and we'll put a blog post up that lists all of these things and has links as well. So, you know, I know how hard it is if you're listening to this and you're doing a lot of other things and you're like, wait, there was that thing, you know, like what was that? Or like, I don't remember, or I searched it, but it didn't quite come up. I know there was this one. We will have a post that will have links. It'll just be like, hey, this is what we were talking about. This is that website that you can find it on. So we'll try to make it easy for you, because none of us need to spend extra brain power.
I have no extra brain power
on these things, right? None of us have the extra. Exactly. We don't have the extra brain power for it. We will do everything.
So we will end the day with our mantra, which is embrace the gifts of experience. They bring stories, smiles, and memories that never wear out. And remember, exploration provides organic learning and joy. So have fun and happy homeschooling.